Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. Now, for some time now, at least a week or two, I guess, someone has been foaming at the mouth about how dreadful the Andris Nelson's Mahler 5 with the Vienna Philharmonic on Deutsche Grammophon is. And I say to myself, I always look at these things with a grain of salt, as you take my opinion with a grain of salt. You have to hear for yourself. But this person has been rather persistent. Every comment mentions just how horrible it is. And I'm getting it gets a little bit much, frankly. I appreciate the comments, don't get me wrong, but you don't have to repeat yourself 500 times. I mean, we get the point, right? But I took a look to see if it was available. Apparently, it's not available as physical product, but you can download it. It's available and for streaming and other things. And I guess they're releasing it like on LP or something. I don't know. There's some strange format it's coming out in. But the actual physical CD does not seem to have a release date. Maybe somebody else knows what it is. But I downloaded it because I said to myself, I owe it to my loyal viewership to give it a listen and see if it's really as horrible as this person said. Well, it is. If anything, it's worse. It's an atrocity. It is probably the worst Mahler 5 ever. I know it's hyperbole, it's an exaggeration, but no, it isn't. Wait till you listen to it. It is unspeakably bad in every conceivable way, and it's all Nelson's fault. Really, I mean, Boston was great to get rid of him. I keep hearing this, the war between the players and the management, and maybe they handled it in a diplomatically insensitive way. Let's put it that way. But if this is what they've got there, my God, they're in trouble. I'm sure that in Boston, the whole issue was simply money. I mean, it usually is. And that's what it was. But artistic value, if this is what we're hearing. Now, of course, I'm not there listening to concerts every day and all this crap, but I've heard his recordings. And let me tell you, now we have his Bruckner cycle and his Shostakovich cycle and his Beethoven cycle, and there's a Mendelssohn cycle coming, and he's working on a Mahler cycle. Why? What is it about this guy that's even remotely compelling? It's incomprehensible, absolutely incomprehensible. And this Mahler 5 is so bad. Well, let's get to the gory details, shall we? First of all, the Vienna Philharmonic has never sounded worse. They are completely disinterested, and their playing is sloppy. I mean, the most interesting thing are all these sort of minor inaccuracies in the brass playing, chording and rhythm and things like that. They sound like they're they're not interested at all. And it's funny. It takes me back to Leonard Bernstein's comment that the Vienna Philharmonic has to be forced to play Mahler, and he forced them to do it, and they did it for him. I mean, there's some truth to that statement. There really is. They're not a natural Mahler orchestra. They don't have the sense of sectional independence. The winds, the brass, the strings, the percussion section usually sucks. They're just they have beautiful strings. They make a lovely blend. They have the German standard repertoire that they can play in their sleep, and they do most of the time. That's what's happening with the Vienna Philharmonic. So it's not a terrific Mahler orchestra, and but they can be under the right circumstances with the right conductor. Listen to the way Makaris made them play Janacek. I mean, they can do it. I've got them doing an astounding Rite of Spring under Zubin Mehta. They'll play for the right people. Nelson's is not the right people. His Beethoven cycle with them was atrociously dull, and this Mahler it's beyond dull. We're into like criminal turpitude here, a torpor. It's just completely comatose. That's the thing. The opening funeral march is almost impossible to listen through. It has almost no contrast. And it's very interesting if you compare this performance to Bernstein's with the same orchestra, because the tempos are quite similar. But Bernstein is eruptive and shattering and emotionally thrilling, and it has contrast. This has nothing, absolutely nothing. The opening threnody is everything is muted and muffled, and there's no rhythm. You can do dum bum bum bum, or you can do well, that's what they do, and it's really outrageous. Then you have that first great outburst, which begins sort of with an upbeat. Well, the upbeat's missing in this performance. It's just and it's not even. There's no dynamics. There's no dynamic range. It's not fortissimo. It's not. It's supposed to be like this wailing, screaming bit of hysteria, and there's just no hysteria. I mean, it's just da 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 da. I mean, it really scandalously horrible and misconceived. And there's no reason for it other than Nelson doesn't seem to care. Part of the problem is phrasing. His sole interpretive idea is to add little retards at the end of many phrases. And the result of that is to just check the flow, to keep the music from moving. And it's got to move. It really does. It's just this constant holding back, so that it's incredibly frustrating. Okay, so that's the first movement. Then we get the second movement. Right? Stormily agitated with the greatest vehemence. That is Mahler's indication. Chugga chugga chong, pat, chugga chugga chong, pat. It's got to sound angry. Oh my God. Is that not happening here? First of all, the brass aren't terribly together. So it's, da 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 da, da 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 da, I can't even begin to describe how wrong it is, how bad it sounds. My light's flickering. Sorry about that, folks. I'm going to replace it after this video. Anyway, so that's just, there's just no vehemence. It's not there. It's not happening. And so the contrast and all, it's a very contrasty movement. Fast, slow, loud, soft. They're all muted and muffled. There's no cause and effect in this performance. The music has a certain, rhetoric to it, right? I mean, things happen and the music reacts. And that's what keeps it exciting. I'll give you another example. In the scherzo, when the finale, you've got an opening sort of introduction to the fugal passage. Bum ba da 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 dum bum bum ba dum bum bum ba dum bum bum with the timpani. And so it's dum dum chugga 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 da 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 da. Then the fugue stuff starts in the lower strings. So, they're given an opportunity, and there's a statement, and then there's a response, and the response has to be up-tempo. I mean, it's launching the fugue, and the fugue has to take off. It doesn't take off. It doesn't go anywhere. It's a chugga 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 chugga. So anyway, we were talking about the second movement. We jumped to the finale, but the second movement has the big chorale. Well, nothing happens with the big chorale. Then the big climax with the missing tam-tam, which is what always happens at that moment, usually. But even if the tam-tam isn't great, you can still go ba da 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 dum da 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 da. It just doesn't happen. Nothing's happening. So then you have the massive scherzo. Wow, is this horrible? I mean, I have never heard it played with such a generous fund of tedium and neglect for contrast. I mean, that whole middle section, when you're finally, it all dies down to just a string quartet, pizzicato, plunk, 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 plunk. It's deader than dead. Incredibly uninflected, and then of course you've got that sequence of climaxes before you get to the really big one. Pow! The bass drum and the horns go wah, wah. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Zippo. I mean, sure, there's a semblance of louderness, but I mean, is it triple forte? Is it exciting? Is it have a no? None of that happens. Okay, so the Adagietto, I don't remember it. I think I fell asleep. I just don't remember it. It passed by without any sort of memorability whatsoever. I mean, I was awake actually. I mean, I didn't fall asleep, but it somehow just slid by anonymously. And then, like I said, the finale. Oh my God! No, the finale is just wretched. You've got the big chorale at the end. I mean, which actually is the one moment where the orchestra sort of attempts to be exciting. I mean, it does achieve modest loudness for the only time in the symphony. But then you've got, again, cause and effect. You have the big chorale, and then you've got the race to the finish. Da 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 da. And the strings are going. It's supposed to sound like it's winding up to the great ending, which it should. But no, not at all. Nelson's goes right back to the same stiff, dull tempo that dominates the movement. So da 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 chunk chunk boom It couldn't be less exciting. So the performance is. What really depresses me about it is that, this being like the days of the internet and there being no publicity and like no anything or promotion or whatnot, people will hear this because it's going to show up in their streaming feeds or wherever it is, and they're going to think this is what the piece should sound like. And some people may be bored with it, and some people may actually like it. And it's okay if they like it. I mean, people have a right to like it, but with no knowledge of the discography or the work or what's going on, they're not going to understand just how inadequate this is as a representation of Mahler's Fifth Symphony. And that's a shame. I think that really is a shame. I see it in the comments. Sometimes people say, well, you only recommend old recordings and none of the new ones. Well, if I hear a new one that's recommendable, I'll recommend it. But the fact of the matter is it means something to listen to multiple versions and to know the discography and to know a dud when you hear it. And I have to say, whether I knew anything about this symphony or not, I would know this is a dud. This is an absolute abomination all by itself, sui generis. You don't need any comparisons to be able to determine that this is simply horrible. And, he's going to be doing a cycle, supposedly, with the Vienna Philharmonic. It's such a stupid thing to do. I just can't stress enough just what a horrible, horrible waste it is to stick this guy in front of that orchestra and pretend that they know how to play Mahler. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I always hope I'm wrong about these things. I would love it to be fabulous. I would love the Vienna Philharmonic to, for once, do like a great Mahler cycle. That would be amazing. But it's not going to happen here so far. I mean, I know it's not because of this. We'll see what else happens. I don't know. I really don't know. All I know is that this is scandalously bad, embarrassingly bad. And, so you should all go off and listen to it to confirm for yourself just how disgusting it is. And then hopefully not spending any money in the process. And then having done that, I think you'll know where we are. I mean, you could just listen to the opening minute of the Funeral March and you're in bad shape. I had a friend over here. I said to him, because I always don't have, like to get other opinions as well. And I said, listen to this, just the opening minute, and tell me what you think. And he was like, it's just horrible. And it is. It is. It's absolutely awful. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.